The Time of His Life by Neil Lawson May. Mrs. Marrock was up early to make Professor Adler a proper hiker's breakfast of fresh farm eggs, local cured bacon, and foraged mushrooms. She wished him a good day's walking as he and his German shepherd, Copernicus, set off on the coast path to Gunver Head. It had become his habit to visit the West Country at the end of the Lent term when the daffodils were blooming and the sea had a magic spring shimmer. The idea was to flex his intellectual muscles away from the restrictions of Cambridge, to enjoy some strenuous hiking and satisfy his appetite with good local food and some West Country cider. A fine Cornish morning, thought Adler, humming a few bars of Ode to Joy to himself. A chance for me to consider my work on the Einstein-Rosen bridges. The mathematics of wormholes in the fabric of space-time was tricky, but his mind felt especially clear and creative. Perhaps he could make that breakthrough he'd been trying for. As he neared Gunver Head, the path became dangerously narrow and slippery. It was some 150 feet above a wild sea that tore at the broken and serrated rocks below. This was not a place to misstep or fall, and he kept Copernicus on the lead. A sea mist rolled in, and he shivered. He thought he could see the outline of an animal, and as he approached, he realized it was a dog. Where was the owner? The dog ran up to him in a friendly way. It was a German shepherd, very like Copernicus, but this dog was distressed and its lead had been chewed through so that just a few inches remained. The stray had been in some sort of scrape, but otherwise the two animals were so similar that they could have been brothers. Adler was concerned about the dog's owner. They might be in trouble, possibly hurt. He walked on and to his great unease saw a hiking boot on the rocks below. It would be quite a tumble for someone to lose their boot, thought Adler. The stray ran ahead to the faintest of paths going steeply down the cliff face. He reached for his mobile to call for help, but to his annoyance, he'd left it on the breakfast table. He tied Copernicus to a fence and reluctantly decided to go a little way down the path. With some difficulty, he held the stray by the short lead. After a while, he shouted out, "Hello! Are you in trouble? Do you need help?" "Stay where you are and don't let go of the dog." The stray slipped from his grasp and shot off, barking furiously. It stumbled on some loose ground and slid madly down the cliff, disappearing from sight. Then silence. "Can you see the dog? Is he all right?" Adler shouted. "Don't worry about the dog and don't come any further." But he was already edging down the path to where the dog had vanished. Then he too lost his footing and started to slide. He grabbed at flimsy bushes growing in the outcrops but couldn't get a handhold. He swore to himself this was it. He was going to die. But he didn't die. His fall was stopped suddenly and painfully by a large gorse bush. Below him the sea and rocks were awful. He took a few deep breaths and looked around. There was no way back up. A voice came from the rocks below. "There are some footholds just to your left. Lower yourself down." He climbed a little way and hands grabbed his legs, hauling him onto a small rocky ledge. "Thank you," he said, turning to his rescuer, but to his utter amazement, there was not one person on the ledge, but 3. And all 3 were Professor Ulrich Adler of Clare College, Cambridge. Yes, we know," said the Adler who'd pulled him onto the ledge. "There's 3 of us and you. All 4 of us are the same person. We think it's some kind of Morris Thorne effect." A wormhole for time travel on a Cornish cliff? We've all got the same story, a walk after breakfast, the stray dog, the boot on the rocks. The dog disappears, then our fall is broken by the gorse bush. We all look the same, are dressed the same, and we talk the same. We are the same person. So yes, most likely a wormhole in space-time. Can we climb up or down? Both impossible. Have you called for help? The only person who ever comes down here is ourselves, and you'll notice that there are no birds or planes in the sky. We seem to be in our own time dimension. He looked down at their feet. We've all got our boots on. Yes, the boot on the rocks is nothing to do with us. We suppose it just washed up. Where's the dog gone? That's the wrong question. Adler thought for a moment. Copernicus, of course, time travel. The stray dog is Copernicus. He waits for me to return, becomes agitated, chews through his lead and wanders along the cliff to meet the next me and the next Copernicus. Correct. But, why are there 4 of us but only 2 dogs? The answer came from the man furthest along the ledge. When Copernicus slips down the cliff, he tumbles and falls to where I'm standing. He's a big dog, travelling at high speed, and the impact will topple me and Copernicus off the ledge and into the sea. When the next Adler climbs down off the gorse bush, you will all shuffle up one place. The Adler after me waits for Copernicus to crash into him, and so on, and so on. Good God, into the sea? You mean you and Copernicus are going to drown? There was a silent pause. The other Adlers looked rueful. But surely we can all hold hands or squeeze up together or something. It's all been tried. Nothing's worked so far. The Adler on the end always dies. It takes about an hour for Copernicus to get stressed enough to chew through his lead and start looking for me, you, us along the cliff before the next Adler finds him. How many? How many have gone into the water? From when we started counting, I'm number 473, said the furthest. This is 474, 475, and you are 476. This is appalling. How can you be so calm? Once you've seen your own death, you're sort of ready for it. It becomes the opposite of that artwork, you know, the dead shark in the tank. The impossibility of death in the mind of someone living? Exactly. Here, death is not only possible, it is inevitable. Scheisse, if only I'd had more cider to drink last night, was in bed with a hangover. I felt so alive this morning. I felt the universe opening up to me, such possibilities. The others nodded. Well, said 475, we are working on a mathematical solution. They worked together on the maths. It was a thrilling session. The productivity, the ideas, the sheer brilliance of it. No solution was found, but the work was luminescent. They lost track of time then. Hello, are you in trouble? Do you need me to get help? Stay where you are and don't let go of the dog. The Adlers stared at 473. A German shepherd came spinning down the cliff, smashed into 473, and both man and dog plunged off the ledge into the furious water, vanishing completely. After a few moments, a new Adler landed on the gorse bush and was helped onto the ledge. They all moved along one place and the cycle continued. An hour later, Copernicus knocked 474 to his death, and in due course, 475 went the same way. Now, Adler himself was on the end of the ledge where the dog would soon take him off. He found the mathematics much less interesting. Then he had an idea. What if I lowered myself down from the ledge and you pulled me back up after Copernicus had fallen? How can you lower yourself? There's nothing to hang on to. Bootlaces. We have 8 walking boots, each with a pair of 60-inch nylon laces. That's 40 feet of rope. 20 if we double it up. We can tie it round that wooden stump. He pointed to a branch at the other end of the ledge. The other Adlers looked at each other. Yes, this could work. They spent more time than was sensible on devising an equation to prove that it could work, and it wasn't until late in the hour that they'd made the rope. It was passed along between them. One end was tied to the stump and the other around Adler's waist. Hello, are you in trouble? Do you need me to get help? They weren't ready for this. For this to work, Adler should already be lowered off the ledge, but he was still with the others. The rope lay along the ledge, blocked by their feet. "Stay where you are and don't let go of the dog." Bang! The impact of Copernicus hitting him was incredible. He was catapulted off the ledge at tremendous speed, whirring crazily. One of his boots flew off and landed on the rocks. The rope tightened and it became clear that the other Adlers hadn't been quick enough to step over it. They were slingshotted off the ledge. Adler gasped as they were swept away, their arms and legs flailing in the air. The rope stretched out. Adler held on with one hand, not breathing, but it was okay. It took his weight, and incredibly, Copernicus was lying on his chest, with the rope holding him in place. Just as he was beginning to recover, there was a crashing noise above him as the next Adler landed on the gorse bush. But with no one to help him climb off, the bush couldn't hold his weight and it snapped. The new Adler followed the others into the sea. "Hello, are you in trouble? Do you need me to get help?" "Stay where you are and don't let go of the dog." "No, hang on. It hasn't been an hour yet." "Yes, get help. I'm trapped with a dog. I don't know how long the rope will hold." By the time Mrs. Marek arrived at the hospital, Adler was sitting up in bed, furiously scribbling equations on any piece of paper he could get hold of. "No visitors, no visitors," he shouted. "He's a bit delirious," said the nurse. "He keeps talking about time travel. We found very high levels of Lawson in his bloodstream. No wonder he fell off the path." "Lawson? It's what's in magic mushrooms. Professor Adler seems to have a drug habit." "Magic mushrooms?" repeated Mrs. Marek, thinking back to Adler's breakfast and the foraged fungi. Giggling, she added, "He's probably had the time of his life."